How's everybody doing today? We good? I heard a lot of people had to drive from Boise. How was it? Good drive? Did you just leave this morning? Yeah? Was it, well, I hope we can make it worth it. I hope it's good. Let's see, there are a lot of new faces that I am not recognizing, so I'm kind of excited to see a bunch of new people, and yeah. So welcome. I just have a few announcements. If you're not a part of our Facebook group, get on there, because we do pretty much all of our announcements on there. It's Community of Good Cache Valley. Anyone can contribute. There's really no hierarchy of leadership. Even though we're trying to get established still, so if anybody wants to plan an event, just make a post and we'll get those things going. We're currently working on the website. If there's anybody who wants to help with that, we need help, just talk to me or John or Kim or whoever you know. We can ask around and figure it out. The donations, we do take donations, and there should be a pink box somewhere. Does anybody know where that's at? It's in the foyer. Okay, because this building does cost money to rent. So, people do pay out of their pockets, so we need to be able to donate at least $2 to $5 if we can to help pay for the rent of this, because I think maybe Jeremy's out $100 this week if we don't, right? You pay for this? Yeah. What's that? Oh, okay. So it's right there on that speaker. And also, Deprice also, she does refreshments, and our donations help her buy the refreshments. So also, if you want to eat some delicious food and coffee, that helps that out too. So we can have those things. If we might have to get to the point where we can't have refreshments if we can't pay for them. So anyway, also we have a PayPal. If you don't have cash, that's okay. We have a PayPal. You can find it. It's pinned to the top of the Facebook group. Or it's just paypal.me/communityofgood. We are also still taking donations for the homeless youth center down in Salt Lake. We've been taking boxes probably once a month. So, yeah. We've done pretty good. We've had a bunch of sleeping bags and good stuff. Also, we want to thank Amelia. She's headed up putting together the kids' room, which has been awesome. It's been working out great. They got lots of activities for the kids, things for them to do. We're taking donations for if there's toys, anybody wants to donate some toys or snacks. And also if anybody's willing to jump in on the rotation of that, talk to Amelia. Zachary is in charge of music, and he's been doing awesome. So if anybody wants to help with that, put themselves out there. We're talking about maybe not limiting it to just music. If you're a dancer, you want to perform, if you painted a beautiful picture, if your 4-year-old colored the coolest picture of the Lion King in the coloring book, just any type of artistic expression should be great, right? We don't have to just do music. Also, January 23rd is this next Saturday. We are doing a game show with a comedian, Eileen Dobbins, and she's pretty excited for that. She's got everything ready, and she's put a lot of work into it. So she's going to do a game show, and we already have 6 people for the panel. And paper for that. It's going to be family friendly, so don't worry about bringing your kids. Bring your kids. And she'll do a comedy routine after. So it's 2 teams face off in a hilarious battle of wits and lies. Can you tell who is telling the truth and who is just kidding? So that is on Saturday. And then after this meeting, we will have The refreshments will just be out that door and over into the kids' room. And then probably about 20 minutes after that, we're going to meet up for a training meeting after with Mike and Helen, who is speaking today, just to discuss where the future of Community of Good is going and if Oasis is in the future for us. So everybody is welcome. There's no everybody's welcome to make your voice heard. We're also going to nominate and elect officers. So, all right. So this is the Community of Good. We are a secular community dedicated to social interaction, intellectual exploration, and humanitarian service. We aim to provide a friendly, supportive environment to residents in or near Cache Valley. We encourage respect for all beliefs, ranging from Orthodox to agnostic or atheist. All are welcome. So we want to make sure we keep this place positive for everyone. So please be sure to keep your comments and questions and posts respectful. So with that, we're going to start with an opening song by Carolyn Larson and Dallas Heaton, and it's Jesu Joy of Man's Desiring, and then I'll get up and I will, what's the word I'm trying, I will introduce Helen and Mike. goodness, thank you. That was really good. That was amazing. That was really powerful. Okay, so I'd like to introduce Helen Stringer and Mike Aus? Okay. Helen Stringer is a co-founder and president of the Oasis Network and executive director founder of Kansas City Oasis. Shortly after obtaining a bachelor's degree in pastoral studies, she found her own ideologies shifting and decided to redirect her passion for community and helping others by working as a center director and counselor for a local nonprofit that assists young families in crisis. Simultaneously, she completed her master's degree in human services with a graduate certificate in professional counseling. Now, Helen is bringing her training and passion for community to Oasis with a desire to bring together secular individuals and families. In early 2014, she founded and now serves as the executive director of Kansas City Oasis, a secular alternative to faith-based community. She also co-founded and serves as the president of the Oasis Network, the affiliate organization that helps to launch and support Oasis communities around the country. Mike is co-founder of the Oasis Network and executive director, founder of Houston Oasis, a native of Baltimore, Maryland, and a graduate of the University of Michigan. Mike spent 4 years teaching English in Japan and then nearly 20 years as a pastor. In 2012, he realized that his ideologies and beliefs had changed significantly enough that he felt drawn to another path. It was then that he began to shift his focus, beginning a search for ways to build healthy, secular communities. After that, he and some others in Houston began to work toward forming a new kind of organization that would provide the benefits of community while emphasizing thinking and compassion over ideology. In September 2012, Houston Oasis was launched, and it has been meeting and growing ever since. Mike's work with Houston Oasis was the subject of an article in Time magazine in August 2014. The Oasis Network strives to build and support communities of compassion and reason that create a safe and welcoming environment for free thinkers to celebrate the human experience in a positive way. So, without further ado, I would like to welcome Helen and Mike.
Aren't you supposed to keep clapping until the guy gets up here? That's kind of awkward. Yeah. Sorry. It's great to be with you all today. Thank you for that lovely introduction. We're going to do kind of tag team. Helen's going to come up. I'm going to say a few words first. And I'm just so excited to be here. This is my first trip ever in my life to Utah. And I've been here exactly 24 hours. Yeah. Just wonderful. It's beautiful. Meeting a lot of we had great meetings in Park City last night and downtown Salt Lake City, and this morning was that Davis County where we were. Yeah, it's been a blur, and we're just so happy to be here and to meet you all. We've heard such great things about you all, and all I'm going to do right now is share a few random thoughts about community, friendship, and beliefs of all things. And then Helen's going to talk a little bit. Then we'll do some Q&A, and we can get into more of the nuts and bolts aspects to what we're doing to build secular community, maybe later on in that session we're going to have afterwards. But I'm going to take some digressions before I get to the Oasis thing. But to start off, I just want to share a little story from a time when I was in junior high. And there was a kid in my town, the father of a kid in my town, father of one of my classmates, who had this thing for the gold standard. Apparently, the United States currency system had gone off the gold standard during the Nixon administration, and there was a movement of people that felt like the money really ought to be tied to gold. And for him, this just wasn't right. It wasn't the natural order of things. It wasn't what God ordained. Money should be tied to gold. And so he kind of got into this protest thing about the gold standard. And as a result, he no longer recognized the validity of the United States currency system, which then led to him somehow not paying his taxes. And as you can imagine, the Internal Revenue Service had a different opinion about his thoughts on the gold standard. Well, long story short, the guy ends up going to federal prison, much to the inconvenience of his family and loved ones, okay? And that was like when I was in 8th grade, 7th, 8th grade. And I remember it left a big impression on me when I was a kid, because I thought, here's a guy, excuse me, that went to prison over a belief. Not over something he did. Not like he didn't shoot somebody, he didn't get involved in a drunk driving accident, he didn't really hurt somebody. He went to prison over a belief, specifically because his beliefs didn't align with the beliefs of the dominant culture. And that's all money is, basically. Money is a belief, right? A dollar bill, in and of itself, has no objective value. It only has value because billions of people around the world agree to say that it has value, right? And that's what makes it real. That's how the currency system works. For that matter, the gold that my friend's father believed so vehemently in also only had value because other people believed it had value. So I'm not saying that money isn't real. I'm only saying it's real because billions of people agreed together to say that it is real. It's a social construct. Are you following me? It's a social construct. It's an imagined order. It's imaginary because it's imagined, but it's also real. Several years ago down in South Texas, we had this a boom in the emu business. I don't know if y'all had it up here too. It was weird. Like everybody I knew started raising emus on their land. And I'm like, okay, well, why are you raising emus? And they say, it's because the eggs are so valuable. And then you'd ask them, well, why are the eggs so valuable? Because everybody's raising emus, okay? That's pretty much all you need to know about how the economy works. That's it. That's it. The most thought-provoking book I read last year, in 2015, was a book by an Israeli scholar. His name is Yuval Noah Harari, and the book was called Sapiens, A Brief History of Humankind. And in that book, and the book generated quite a bit of buzz, in that book, Harari argues convincingly that it was the rise of fictive beliefs, the rise of imagined orders, the rise of constructed realities, socially constructed realities, that enabled humanity. It was the big breakthrough point for human history in the development of modern humanity. Because this is what allowed humans to break out of the small tribal units that had dominated most of human history. As you all know, various species of humans have been around for like 2 million years, right? And for 2 million years, human species lived in small tribal units of a few dozen people or so, and that was their entire reality. It explains a lot about the way our brains have evolved and a lot of other things about us. Our emotional lives are still largely, impacted by the way our ancestors developed. It was only 10,000 years ago that humans started living in large, complex social arrangements. And Harari and others argue it was the rise of their ability to create fictive realities that enabled that mass cooperation to happen for the first time. Because unlike ants and bees, we did not evolve an instinct for mass cooperation. We evolved an instinct to cooperate with a few dozen people, but we did not evolve an instinct to cooperate with thousands of our fellow creatures, and that's why it took this breakthrough. Shared myths, created orders became the vehicle for humans to start living and cooperating for the first time in history on a mass scale in large, complex societies. And it was a shared belief in imaginary orders like kingdoms and religions and money that enabled humans to work on really big projects for the first time, like large-scale agriculture, building the pyramids, and eventually sending people to the moon. You follow? Does that make sense? Okay. And it's incredible insight. And the more I started thinking about that insight, the more it started messing with my head. And it'll mess with your head too if you start thinking about it, because you realize how our entire lives are permeated by imagined orders and socially constructed realities. Take corporations for existence. Corporations do not objectively exist. Corporations only exist because people agree to say that they exist. I'm not getting political, but I do want to mention, okay, so just a little caveat there. But remember back in the 2012 election, Mitt Romney got a little flack for saying that corporations are people. Well, actually, he's kind of right, because the legal system treats corporations as if they were people. And where does the legal system get the ability to do that? From us. The legal system itself is an imagined order that only works because millions of people agree to go along with it. So, some of us, I see, I think some of you guys, too, were at the Sunday Assembly Conference in Atlanta last year in May, and I had my little tourist map that I got from the hotel in downtown Atlanta, and where the place on the map where the Coca-Cola Museum was, it didn't say Coca-Cola Museum. It just had the Coke logo, and it said, you'll love this, the home of happiness. That's what it said. Okay, now when you stop and think about it, objectively, all Coca-Cola is what? Fizzy sugar water, right? And yet somehow the fizzy sugar water has come to embody joy and harmony and the American way of life. Not, mind you, diabetes, tooth decay, and everything else. No, we don't think about that. Coke is one of the greatest corporate empires ever created, but it's all based on a collective illusion. That's not a critique of Coca-Cola. It's simply how our world works. They're playing the game, and they play it very well. Now, here's where this gets to what we're doing in Oasis and the secular community movement at large. When I realized, as was said in the introduction, that my beliefs no longer aligned with the beliefs of religion, I couldn't affirm the doctrines and dogmas and, to me, the superstitions that were part of religious life. And I thought I was getting out of the belief business. I'm done with belief. I want to live a fact-based life, you know. And I was having lunch with a buddy of mine who had made a similar transition. And it was just simply over lunch that we started chatting in the summer of 2012. Hey, you know, is there some way we could kind of hang out and enjoy the good things that we liked about church life, but without the baggage of the doctrines and the dogmas and the theologies? But we could still enjoy, like, getting together with people we like and doing service projects and hearing great music and that kind of stuff. And that was the beginning of, first we then shared that idea with a few of our friends, and they shared the idea with a few of their friends, and pretty soon we started meeting. Yay! Pretty soon we started meeting on a weekly basis. We met over brunch on Sundays just to talk about where this might go. We had no idea what we were doing. We had no idea that anybody else in the world was doing anything like this. We hadn't really looked. We just knew what we wanted to do. And out of those discussions, we were trying to figure out what to call it, and we settled on the term Oasis. We tossed around a lot of possibilities, but a lot of the other names for us just carried too many kind of churchy connotations that we wanted to avoid. Like, we didn't want to use the word assembly and stuff like that. So we settled on Oasis because for us, Oasis just captured what we wanted to be, an oasis for humanity, an oasis of compassion in a world that's often very uncompassionate, an oasis of reason in a world that's often unreasonable, an oasis of acceptance in a world that's often very judgmental. We wanted to create an oasis for humanity that would feel like a safe, joyful, positive place where our common humanity was enough to bind us together in community. And we thought we could do that without doctrines. And so we started talking about the kind of the core values that would define our life. Oh, could we have the core values? I totally forgot about the slide thing. because I am a Luddite when it comes to technology. And yeah, that's it. People are more important than beliefs. Reality is known through reason. Meaning comes from making a difference. Human hands solve human problems. Be accepting and be accepted. Okay, I don't need that slide anymore. You can go to the next one because I want you to listen to me and not look at the slide. So, people are more important than beliefs. For us, we saw too often that religion had flipped it around and made beliefs and dogmas and doctrines more important than the well-being of humans. So we wanted to change it around so that people would come first and matter more than doctrines and dogmas. Reality is known through reason. That was originally, reality is known through reason, not revelation, not ideas that popped into people's heads. We dropped the not revelation part because some people felt like it sounded kind of a little too prickly and attacking. So we just said, reality is known through reason. It's that we would do as a community. We had a commitment to doing life on an empirical basis as much as possible. Human hands solve human problems. Our community believes that there's going to be no supernatural intervention for the problems of the world that have been created by people. And if the world's going to be a better place, it's up to human hands to solve human problems. Meaning comes from making a difference was a core value that expressed our desire to be a community known for doing good things in the world. So both in Houston and Kansas City, and now we have Boston Oasis, we are doing service projects all the time. We're partnering with local service organizations. We're out there showing people that post-religious people care about making the world a better place. And we do, and we'll get more into that later. And finally, be accepting and be accepted. Be accepting and be accepted. We want it to be a community of radical acceptance. Your sexual orientation is not an issue. The structure of your family, the way your family looks, is not an issue to us. We have people from all different types of backgrounds. We have ex-Muslims, we have ex-Hindus, we have ex-Catholics, we have people that have been secular their whole lives, and yes, we even have ex-Mormons. The president of the board of Houston Oasis is an ex-Mormon. One of you said, how Mormon was he? Which I didn't realize that. Was that John? Did John say that? Yeah, it was John who said that, yeah. So apparently, we did some checking on this, and he's related to some historic family, and he was the head of the Mormon student group at his university, so I'll let you decide. But anyway. And so one morning, but people really love that people are more important than beliefs value. Even outside our community, people love that. We have T-shirts that say them. In Houston, we have it printed on the back. In Kansas City, have it printed on the front. So that was the first schism in the Oasis movement. Like, how do you print the T-shirts? Anyway, but people, even religious people, see that and resonate with that because even they recognize sometimes that no, we don't want organizations and institutions that put abstract doctrines above the well-being of actual humans. So one Sunday, after I finished reading that book, Sapiens, and I learned about fictive orders and socially constructed realities, I'm sitting in the front row of our weekly gathering, and we have our core values on a banner up there, and I was looking at that. People are more important than beliefs, and it finally dawned on me, it's like, oh my gosh, people are more important than beliefs is itself a belief. I'm back in the belief business all over again. I thought I was done with it. There is no escaping it. Numerous polls and surveys, as I'm sure you're aware, have indicated that our nation is changing quickly and drastically. Some 23% of the American population are now called the nones, the religiously unaffiliated. If you're under the age of 30, that number is like over 30% now. The Pew Research has showed consistently year after year that across the nation, church attendance has been on decline, church membership has been on decline, and religious belief in America is changing. And it's And that's one of the kind of socially constructed imaginary orders that has held our society together. But here's the thing, religious belief might be going away, but belief itself isn't going anywhere, because human beings in large, complex societies simply cannot live without beliefs. The only person I think who could live without a belief possibly would be someone who goes off by themselves and lives in the wilderness completely off the grid. And that would be the only way you could possibly live without any beliefs. Other than that, if we're going to live together, we have to have some kind of beliefs that hold us together. Just because some of the old beliefs are going away doesn't mean that the new beliefs that are going to take their place are going to be any better or more compassionate or more reasonable. There are plenty examples of bad beliefs out there. I don't know if you heard about it up here, but last year down in Texas, the United States military was conducting routine exercises that they do every year. We have a massive military base, Fort Hood, right in the heart of Texas. And word got around that this was President Obama practicing for a military takeover of the state of Texas, and that he was going to imprison resistors in vacant Walmart buildings out in West Texas. And the word about this bad belief took root so quickly. It was scary. And even our lovely governor decided he needed to deploy the Texas Guard to keep an eye on the United States Army during their exercises. That's just the tip of the iceberg of all the bad beliefs out there. So I think the $64,000 question for us is, what's going to fill the void? You see, nature abhors a vacuum. The choice isn't between belief or unbelief. The choice is what kind of beliefs. And my answer is, why not the values of the secular community movement? Why not values like people are more important than beliefs, that human hands solve human problems, that be accepting? What if those values became mainstream American values? What if they became known? Like people use it all the time across the country. Oh yeah, people are more important than beliefs. Oh yeah, be accepting and be accepted. If those became mainstream American values, it could be a game changer. It could be the beginning of a more compassionate, more open and accepting society, a more just society, and a kinder society. I may not look like it, but I once ran in a triathlon. Well, actually, it was only part of a triathlon, and it was by accident. I was going through a stage, one of the few stages in my life when I was doing a little bit of exercise, and so I was jogging in my neighborhood one Saturday morning. And I jogged out of a street in our subdivision onto kind of a main drag in our master plan community. And I ran into, they were having a triathlon that weekend. I didn't know it. But then I vaguely remembered, oh yeah, it was a triathlon weekend. And I accidentally jogged out when I turned the corner into the tail end of the running portion of the triathlon. You know where all the stragglers are? And so I'm running along in the straggler section of the triathlon, and there were still a few people lining the streets cheering the stragglers. And when I went by and turned that corner, there were people there who were yelling, "You can do it! We believe in you! You're gonna make it!" And the funny thing was, it kind of worked. For a brief shining moment, I felt like part of the triathlon community. For a brief shining moment, I felt like a champion. And it was the encouragement that we all need to get through life that gave me that boost. And, you know, there's an African proverb that if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And I think that's our vision. It's the vision that Helen and I and so many in the Oasis movement share, is that we would like to go far together. And I hope some way that entails sharing the journey with you all. Because I think together we could do amazing things. And we could be cheerleaders for humanity and cheerleaders for each other. So that's all I've got for you right now. Thank you. And I'm going to turn it over to my wonderful colleague from Kansas City, Helen Stringer.
Well, I would say that my husband and I are like a lot of Americans in that even after we reasoned our way out of our belief system in evangelical Christianity, we continued to go to church for quite some time. It wasn't until we had a family that we decided maybe we don't want our kids, to be exposed to the possibility of being told like they were broken and some of the other things that we see as potentially kind of negative for our kiddos. So we had this young family, we left church. And what we found is that we missed those elements of community, really just the friendship, getting to see people on a regular basis, getting to do service projects together, all of that really good stuff. We're missing out on it. And then it dawned on me, well, why aren't we doing this, but on in a way that we all, could remove all the stuff we don't like, the dogma, the exclusion, but still get together and learn really great things. Maybe even better music than we're used to having to be exposed to. And that's when I just did what every good American does. We turned to Google, and I was like, well, maybe someone's already done this, so let me see what's already out there. And that's when I saw Houston Oasis and reached out and was connected to Mike Aus. And originally, I was more or less just getting advice from him, like, all right, so tell me, how are you pulling this off, And that's when I learned about how important it is to do something weekly so that you have that level of frequency and that frequent opportunity, at least, for people to connect. And as we kept talking, what I was envisioning was what they were already doing in Houston. And that's when it dawned on me that I kind of asked him, well, have you ever thought about affiliating? The name Oasis, really resonated for the reasons that he shared. And then also understanding the value of having a greater support system totally makes sense. I mean, you're talking about community and then greater community at large. And in a very short story, that's how we became Kansas City Oasis instead of some of the other random ideas that we had actually had with the team of people who were all wanting to do some type of secular community in Kansas City. We've had, I will say, I still am shocked. Just today, so I'm not, obviously I'm not in my own city. We had Kansas City Oasis, and I always get a text of, how the turnout was. So we had 3 inches of snow. I know that sounds like a lot to you guys, that doesn't, right? So we had 3 inches of snow last night, and sadly, sometimes that throws a wrench in things. And we still had, one of the, a really, really great turnout. And it just, I got all these text messages from people telling me, oh, they missed me, or they can't wait. I've been gone 2 weeks. I was in Boston last week. And it's just really incredible, not just from that, but overall to see the response of all these people who now call Oasis their family and their home. And I don't think that we would look or be as successful in a healthy, thriving community if we hadn't affiliated with Houston Oasis. If we didn't have that greater network and that greater support, we wouldn't be where we are today. Now, there are 3 specific things that, as I was thinking about what to share with you, that get me really excited about what we're doing with Oasis. The first one is that we, and I see this firsthand, get to meet real human needs of connection and support. Now, this can be for those really big events. We have the big life events. Life can be really wonderful and celebratory, and we want to share that with other people. And then we also have those moments where life is really, really, it's horrific. It's horrible. Last November, I got a call from one of our community members, and she shared with me that the night prior, her son suddenly died. And she said that the doctor, as they, she left the room and then had they come back and tell her that her son had passed. And she said that they asked her, you want us to contact your church for you? And these are people who have been lifelong atheists, and they're like one of the really loud, kind of like proud atheists. They love that term. And she said, at first the knee-jerk reaction was like, I don't have don't have a church, that kind of thing. And then she said, all of a sudden it dawned on her. She's like, wait a minute. I have my Oasis family. And she said it for a moment, it was like, well, should I? And then she was like, oh, well, that just makes sense. This is why these communities exist. And she told the doctor, don't worry about it. I got this. I reached out to them. And that's when she called me and said that her son had died tragically and horrifically that day. And so we were about 6 months young. Never done a memorial service or a funeral service ever. Yes, I went to college to be a pastor, but never actually served in a pastorate. Never really opportunity because I'm the wrong gender. And so at that moment, I was when she told me about this, I have counseling skills, so I listened. It's the only thing I knew to do was just to let her listen and just talk and process through this. But at first she was like, well, we know that, the one thing we can do is, my husband and I will just do just the two of them, we'll go do some graveside thing. And I was like, oh no. I'm like, if you want us as your community, do you want the support? Because I guarantee, yes, we're a young community. We all don't know each other super well, but people will come out and support this. And so, reached out to Mike. He helped guide me through all of this because I didn't know even what elements. I'll be honest, I've been very fortunate in my life. I haven't even attended many funerals, so I didn't really know what I was doing. Long story short, a week later, at a 2:00 service, 45 minutes outside of Kansas City, because they were a military family, so this service took place on a military base. About 25 Oasians came out to support this family going through something that most of us can't even imagine. And it was one of those full circle moments where you realize that you're doing something well beyond yourself, that not only is meeting an individual's needs, but a community need. We did that small service for them. I'll tell you, it was one of the hardest things that I have ever done. And then afterwards, we all went out to eat afterwards, and I sat with this table of people just chatting, and also with the family and everything, and that's when you realize that this community thing is not just a matter of getting together and having fun. I mean, there is the small moments; those are important, but we have the ability to meet this real human need for those big events in life. And people need that. And I'm sure you all can totally agree with that. Like, what would you do right now if you are totally removed from whatever church or faith institution you have? Where do you go? Now, I'll have to say, obviously, most of the things we're experiencing in life are just the day-to-day fun stuff. I mean, we have social events where I get to help vent with other parents about how incredibly challenging parenting is. Maybe you guys all have it all figured out, but I'll tell you what, I sure don't. My kids are really great at keeping me grounded. Realizing that I really have no clue what I'm doing. But we share all those little small life events, whether positive or kind of hard, all of those life elements. And that's really important to who we are as human beings. Secondly, we have the opportunity to connect and encourage the next generation. I think it's a huge gap that we see, especially in the secular community at large. Right now, there's a lot of the 30 and under activist groups, and we need them. They're great. But I didn't feel like I fit in there. That just wasn't my thing. And then, you have the all, more elderly, older white men who are more angry, humanist or atheist, kind of doing their own thing. So I was like, well, what about us in between people? Or what about those of us who just want to experience life with other people, but not always think about how we don't do religion? Because trust me, that gets old really fast. And now we have this great opportunity where families have a place where my kids, they've known these other kids for 2 years now. I've seen the progression of pictures, and they have these friends and connections and relationships. My kids love coming to Oasis. I learned that, I guess, within the Mormon church, sometimes not everyone's so thrilled to attend what you're required to attend on Sunday. No? You're like, oh, no. Sorry. All of us choose to be a part of this because it's fun. It really genuinely is fun. The byproduct is the support and all of that, the ability to celebrate with other people. but also this ability to do things to help connect and influence the next generation. I don't know about you, but when I was in youth groups, I have some of the best memories of my life. That also including, we played Capture the Flag a lot. Do you know what that is? So it was like dark outside, and we would play Capture the Flag outside of the church building. And one of the really cool things is that if you have a boyfriend at the time and there's this like shack or like barn in the back and you had a spot to like make out really quick, while you were playing Capture the Flag, and still you were looking for the flag. But it was really great fun memories there from church, believe it or not. So, not that I want my kids to have that exactly, but when you think about it, I hope they have, fun things to reflect on. Maybe not. I wasn't a bad kid at all. That was about as bad as I got. Lastly, I think we have the ability, just like Mike talked about, to really change the narrative of our culture. I think we do have the ability, even beyond that, once we start connecting with one another and supporting one another, we destigmatize lack of belief. And we also empower each other to live our best lives because we are empowering each other, whether that means to help other better beliefs, come to fruition, or to the very least just live the best life we can, because this is, at least from my framework, I don't know about you, because I think we probably all differ, I kind of think this is it. And that has compelled me more than ever to do what I can in this one life to make it really, really great, because if this is it, then I want to spend it well. And I think I can do that better together with other people, not alone and isolated, not bitter, but joyful, enjoying this life full of awe and wonder. So with that, I'd like to kind of turn it over to, so we have two things. We're going to do we can do some Q&A with you guys. Mike, I don't know if you want to come back up or not, and then we can give you more, for those of you who are interested in finding out more about what we're doing with Oasis specifically, we are going to do a training after this. So I don't know how much time we even have or where we're at with timing or how you guys do this. Not everyone at once. So can I pull this off? The light is really good. Really, word of mouth is the best thing. Yes, anything you can think of, do it. Social media, we have a website, you want to make sure you have good keywords, all of that stuff. But really, all of this, think about it, it's a people thing. You're more likely to check something out or follow through with something if someone suggests it to you. That includes even reading books. So the best thing is if you're excited about something and really passionate about it, you are naturally going to talk about it and want to invite people to be a part of it as well. So that's kind of the best way. Just share, I'm doing this really, have this really great community. Come check it out sometime. And sometimes people need multiple exposures and opportunities to finally choose to actually come check something out. So keep that in mind as well. For example, outside of the inviting people, we've had some really great press. One was a year ago. We had this really 8-page, we were the cover story magazine insert for our Midwest paper. And it was really a wonderfully well-written, made us look really good, because we are really good. But you never know how sometimes media might portray you. We haven't had any issues with that yet. It's always been very positive. But we still have people who are like, oh yeah, I read that article, and they're just now showing up a year later. So those little things here and there, sometimes it takes multiple exposures to that. So. Houston's different, and I want him to share about that. And I'll say how we grew, but and then client, maybe not. I don't think everyone's going to look like we had with Kansas City. I think because we had their support, so I had their wisdom. And I have an amazing team of people. Oasis is teams of teams. It's not the Helen show. We try to make sure that it's not I don't even MC or talk that frequently. But we started out on Sunday with 120 people in April. Our first Sunday, yes, and I think that's really going to be rare. I got on NPR, our local NPR affiliate, and so we were able to get some really great exposure. And we train other communities on how to do media alerts and media releases to kind of help garner that if you can. But we started out pretty big and have kind of coasted then, and then some little pieces of press here and there. And we average around 150 to 200, over 200 too, actually, pretty frequently. So.
Yeah, we see, the way we started was totally different because, obviously when we started, we didn't know what we were doing. We didn't even know if there was a market for this. It was just a handful of friends that shared an idea with a handful of friends. And we had no marketing budget whatsoever, and we didn't even know what to market. We didn't know what we were doing. I mean, this whole thing is that's the other thing I want to stress, is that it's a work in progress, and we take that very, very seriously. This whole thing is evolving. We've benefited from being in relationship with these two communities. I think the more that come to the table, the more we're going to learn from each other and grow together. So it's just, So the first week we got together, it was like 25 people, and we were ecstatic. We thought, if 25 people want to show up, we can do this. And then it just kind of grew from there. And so for us, it was more of a slow and steady trajectory of growth. I think every community is going to look different in the way they get going, So that's a little bit about how we grew. Oh, there's a question back there. Oh, great. What is our Sunday meeting made up of? John told me we need to repeat the question for the... Yeah, I forgot, yeah. Can I just give you a little run through? I'll just give you a brief run through. We have, when you come, there'll be mixing and mingling going on. We don't have like a theater with fixed seats. We're currently in a conference room, and then Kansas City is currently in a municipal community center. And so we have, we just kind of a semicircular setup for the seats, Helen. Yeah, kind of a semicircular setup with movable seats. But people are milling around, mixing and mingling, getting their coffee and their snacks. And we have ambient music playing in the background. It's very random. Last week it was the hits of the 80s. I don't have any control over anything. It's just whatever. And then after we kick off, we start at 10:30. They start at 11. We have live music. We bring in some of the best musicians in the state of Texas every week. They'll play usually two songs to start with, 3 if they're really short. So we have this we say our experience, the Sunday morning experience, is a cross between a house concert and a TED Talk. It's kind of a hybrid, okay? And then with the musicians, and this is true for both of our communities, it's very eclectic. Since we're in Texas, obviously a heavy emphasis on roots and Americana, because that's a lot of what we get, but we get blues, jazz. We've had like all kinds of stuff, rock, indie, alt country and stuff like that. And then, and now we've gotten to the point where people it's kind of becoming a destination venue where musicians ask our music coordinator when they can get on the schedule at Oasis. We're starting to have musicians come from Austin to play at Houston Oasis, which is really a lot of fun. And so after the music, we have something called the community moment, where someone from the Oasis community comes up and shares a brief thought for the day. It's like 10 minutes or less. And this is something else that evolved. It originally started out with people kind of talking about needing to process how they left religion, and why they were here and that kind of stuff. But it's morphed from that, and now it's just people sharing life experiences, maybe an idea they're passionate about in a book they've read. We even had a community moment about origami, and it was amazing. It was an amazing community moment. So it's like, let's just experience. So a big emphasis is bringing as many, bring the diversity of the crowd out there. Let's celebrate our diversity and benefit from the wisdom of the crowd, because there's so much of it out there. And then after the community moment, we have an announcement time. We talk about upcoming events, kind of like what you did at the beginning. And then we'll do our mid-morning coffee break, which goes on for about 10 minutes. And we play ambient music during the coffee break also. And then we bring everybody back together. A musician does another song, because we have found that musical transitions are a great way to move between the different segments of the morning program. And that next round of music prepares people then to hear the main talk for the day. The main talk is about 25 minutes long, 20 to 25. And here again, the main talk is And I mean, we do all kinds of topics because now that we're not limited to one or two books, there's a whole lot more territory that we can cover on Sunday morning. So we'll talk about everything. A couple recent things. I see we had the executive director of the Texas Coalition to Abolish the Death Penalty come and talk about, she came and just talked about the inequities in the Texas death penalty thing. It wasn't a political talk, it was a public policy talk. And we have plenty of people in the audience all over the map on the death penalty, but our goal isn't to make everybody agree with everybody. Our goal is to create a civilized, respectful forum where we can all learn together and hear differing opinions and not get all like, about it, you know? Because people come first. We've had, because we're in Houston, we have a NASA connection. We had one of our members is a space attorney. I didn't even know there was such a thing. And she spoke, it was fascinating. And she spoke about the future of commercial space travel. Fasten your seatbelts, friends. It's going to get really cool. I mean, pretty soon too. So we've just tapped into. Well, we bring in out-of-town speakers sometimes, and we'll pay for their travel expenses, obviously. But some of our very best speakers have been people within our community. Today's topic was the evolution of the drug war. So I wasn't there, but I heard it was really good. And so then after that, we have a member of the board gets up and talks about the need to support what we're doing financially. Otherwise, we couldn't function. We do pass a donation hat. You don't have to do that. No one. I mean, there are. Our envision Oasis communities as autonomous communities that, as long as we share the same values, can pretty much do whatever they want to do. As long as you're meeting weekly and sharing values. And then during the money time, our musician will do the closing music. And then we have a couple final announcements, and then we're out the door. The whole thing takes about an hour and a half altogether. Hour and 15 to an hour and a half and we try never to go over an hour and a half. That includes the social times, yeah. Now, we always designate a lunch spot after the get-together for people who want to stick around and have lunch. So usually we'll have about 50 people that want to do lunch, and we'll go to a local restaurant. And it's another great way for people to kind of, if they met someone today and let's continue the conversation, it's a great way for people to connect. And now, after lunch, is another group of people that's going out to play billiards. They're going to a pool hall. And they just started doing this, and someone came up and said, Mike, I want to make an announcement. And I'm like, I didn't know you guys were doing that. And this has been a lot of fun. There's a few of us. And so we thought we'd announce it. So they started announcing it. And now there's I guess last week, 30 people went and played pool after lunch. And it's really cool because it's we got this one guy, he's one of our oldest members, he's his mid-80s, and the guy can barely walk, but apparently he's a total pool shark, he's kicking everybody else's butt, I think the whole being crippled thing is a scam, this guy is great, and he's so we have old pool sharks giving lessons to young hipsters who are playing pool for the first time. That's the beauty of a multi-generational community, isn't it? And there are very few places in our world where the generations can mix and mingle like that. And yet, here we have that kind of thing all the time. And that also gives you an idea about how things start. We don't, like you guys talked about using the Facebook group. It's all about empowering people to do stuff. Half the social events that pop up on our calendar, I had no idea they were going to be there or who was planning them or whatever, and they're great. It's great stuff. So we don't really have a central committee approving every event that happens in the life of our community. The idea is to lift up people and empower them and let diversity and variety flourish. Yeah, one topic you should just totally stay away from is GMOs, okay? Don't go there. Helen can...
It was food in general.
Oh, food? Yours was food. Don't talk about food. Apparently, You can talk about sex all you want, it doesn't bother anybody, but food, they got strong opinions about. So, I'm kind of serious about the GMO thing. But no, but aside from that, yeah. I just had several inappropriate jokes because I don't know you guys well enough yet. Next time. You're gonna bring me back? Okay. No, they weren't like bad jokes. They were just maybe culturally insensitive. No, okay. I was gonna take a poll. I'm not gonna take a poll. Okay.
Okay, so we started out in a co-working space. I don't know if you have co-working instances here, like these kind of places where new startups and stuff can share workspace, literally, co-working. They have event spaces, so we had this really amazing like loft that could house about 100, 120 people, and then we outgrew it. So we're on our third location. Now we're in a community center. We are in a gym. If you stay after the slides, that'll rotate. We have some pictures of what's going on in our communities. But Houston Oasis is in a conference center right now. They have also been in a community center or a city-owned facility. I guess community centers aren't all that common here. But we've also recommended like schools have to, if you're a nonprofit in the state. There's also comedy clubs, can be great. You just need a separate room for the kiddos. You really do. Otherwise, it's very distracting. Like you do here. I mean, you've got it figured out here for sure. This is a really cool facility. So it's really whatever, you can find a place that will fit your needs. Don't be afraid if there's a charge. Don't always look for free, unless you're just that new and your group is that small and you really don't think you'll have the resources. You'll be surprised. One of the fears that I had was not like, how are we going to raise money for this? And we have never had an issue with paying our bills at all. So we've always cast it in a very positive thing, as if you are excited and you are totally, if you enjoyed what you experienced today, we invite you to help support it financially. We want you to give because you're, joyfully want to. There's no guilt or shame with this at all. I don't know how you could do it. And so with that, people gladly, support us financially and space-wise, don't be afraid to just go for free.
And that brought up a random thought to me. I mean, that was great, but it led me to kind of segue a different direction. Is that speaking about money and stuff, do not get confused if you see Helen and I getting into a brand new black Cadillac Escalade that's parked out there. We don't normally travel like that. That was a free upgrade from Enterprise Rent-A-Car today. Okay, we had I know. Seriously, it's like, apparently, the Sundance Film Festival is in the vicinity, and they have like this fleet of black Escalades in the parking lot. They gotta take one, so okay, we had like something basic. So anyway, no, we're not televangelists. Want to make that clear, okay? But something I thought about was in terms of this, because we keep kind of touching on this, and I just want to be very, very clear that we're trying to develop is something I think is something of a new concept in human community. I think in the past, all kinds of communities, especially religious communities of all stripes, have pretty much divided the world. I think the death of humanity is binary thinking, either or, right? In the church world, so often, it's not just church world, it could be any group. You're either with us or you're against us, right? You're either in or you're out. You're either part of the saved or you're part of the damned. You're part of the elect or the non-elect. And I think we're trying to develop a concept of human community that's not so rigid like that. Because all of human behavior falls on a continuum, right? Everything. We don't fit neatly into boxes or categories, and so we're trying to create a community where people can affiliate and be a part of that community and get their needs for community met at the level that is right and good for them. We don't take attendance and expect anybody to be there every week. We do it every week because people are going to show up every week, and it's important to have, when a post-religious person wakes up on a Sunday morning in Houston and really needs a community to go to, they can count on this come hell or high water that there's going to be something happening. We haven't missed a single Sunday since the day we started in the fall of 2012. So we want that but that does not mean there is an expectation that everybody will be there every week. We have some people that come once a month, and from their perspective, they are committed members of our community. That's wonderful, because it's meeting a need in their life, and we celebrate that. And we don't say, well, you could be coming twice a month. You ought to, no. We're trying to does that make sense? It's not a binary, definition of human community. It's fluid and dynamic, and yet somehow it thrives. So, mainly, make people feel good,
How are we on time? Yeah. We do too. So the way originally, okay. Oh, thank you. How do we do our child care program in essence? Yes. How do we support the family unit? Is that what you said? Okay. On Sundays, we originally, when we started, so remember this is important just to kind of know how it started, because it's all evolved and kind of grown since then. We just had child watch. So we had background checked volunteers in there just hanging out with the kids. We didn't have anything formal structure, knowing that we wanted to eventually. Well, here we are eventually. Now we don't have curriculum. We'd like to. We think we have even more communities come on board. We'll have a better sharing forum to where that will quickly start to evolve and happen. Right now we have a coordinator above it all. The coordinator has Sunday coordinators who create the little activities and stuff for the 8 and unders. Of course, like infant to like 3, they're not necessarily going to participate in that, or if it's safe, because kids that like to put things in their mouth. So we have those activities happening, and sometimes they're craft, sometimes they're science, sometimes they're moral based. It's kind of whatever. I mean, it's like our topics for speaking. I mean, the sky's the limit. Obviously within age appropriateness, but we can talk about food with children. So they probably are very receptive to the GMO talk. And then outside of that, we try to make sure we have social and volunteer opportunities that can incorporate the family as a whole. So we do something called family-friendly happy hours. They don't have to be happy hours. But basically, we have someone host a home where people can come and just hang out with their kiddos. And if you are a childless person, you don't mind crazy kids running around, we encourage people to come hang out too. It's another social thing. So we try to create these opportunities where families can all be a part of things. We've done trips to like the Science Museum. We've done trips to we have this thing called Kaleidoscope. It's like a craft kind of big thing that Hallmark puts on in Kansas City. So we try to create those kind of opportunities. Volunteer-wise, we've been doing like clothing drives. We support this thing called Aus of Oasis Village. It helps low-income inner-city women, single mother women. And so we do like diaper drives and clothing drives stuff for them. And kids are easier to participate in that. I don't know if you've ever tried to do a volunteer event with kids, but it's really hard to find a group thing to go to because there are liability concerns with letting kids into, help out with service and things like that. Books between kids, I think you guys are able to incorporate kids with that.
Yeah, just everything Helen said. The only thing I would add to that is we actually have found a couple service events where children can come along with their folks. I mean, we do a lot of stuff at the Houston Food Bank, but like Helen said, you have to be at least 14 years old to go do that. We want to teach our kids that part of being a human is helping other humans. So we try very, very hard to find meaningful service projects that we can bring even some of the littlest on. So next Saturday, we go to a wonderful nonprofit in Houston called Books Between Kids. They have a large warehouse where they collect tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of gently used books that get sorted and packed and loaded up on pallets and distributed to elementary schools all over the Houston area so needy children can build their own home libraries. And that is actually an organization has structured their volunteer a project in such a way that they welcome even young children who can come and help with the sorting. And the kids love being a part of that. So we try very hard to find those kind of projects, in addition to like what Helen said. So they are out there if you can look. And there's a couple others that we've actually been able to take our younger children to for helping out.
Well, do we have time? There's one more. What's our time?
Can I do one more? We'll do one more.
Directing this. Okay. Is your hand up? And it's been up forever back here? Okay. I'm. It's very impressive. You've kept the hand up the whole time.
What's your organizational leadership work in your individual areas and locations?
Okay, so how does our organizational structure work? Is that what you said? All right, so obviously you need at least one or two pinpoint people, and we are coordinators. So my job as a lead organizer is to help empower other leaders and other teams to run with tasks and things. I call it's kind of like a situational leader in a sense. So we want to stress that as a leader, it's leaders who develop other leaders. And then from there, we're just teams. We are teams of teams. I have now, granted, like I said, this all has evolved. Initially, it was kind of launch team, and then more people came on board, and those formed bigger teams for other things. So we have like finance team, a communications team. I have a music coordinator. I have social event co-coordinators. I have volunteer events co-coordinators. We have our board of directors, which is like the grand oversight of the organization. So we have like tons of people making it happen every week. We did this poll to see how many hours people are putting in. Now remember, we're like 2 years in, and we've grown really drastically. So I think it was like 450 hours to put on an Oasis for a week. That's how many hours all of us are kind of feeding into making this really awesome thing happen. It's a lot of people who are helping out, which is important because that helps build community of itself, because people naturally want to reciprocate. They're getting to experience to be a part of something, and they want to naturally help. And then once you help, you feel like you are better incorporated. You meet people, you talk, you build a community. Do you have something to add to that? Okay. So do you... I'm going to turn it back over to you. All right, so stay afterwards. We'd love to, answer more of your questions, give you more concrete details about what we're doing, and kind of better explain things even more, because there's a lot. I know it can seem overwhelming, but you guys are already kind of doing it. So, all right. Thank you, guys.
All right. I think we should clap again. That was really great. I'm really excited. Really excited. Okay, so we're going to have a meeting probably about 20 minutes after the... were you raising your hand? Yeah, I just have an announcement. Oh, okay. Okay, so about 20 minutes after refreshments, we will... meet back in here for the training meeting, and everybody's invited to participate and check it out. Do you want to make your announcement now? Yeah. Okay, come up and... Okay.
Okay, I'm Deprice. Hi. I was thinking that if anyone wants to help volunteer with like food or the refreshments, or maybe buying the refreshments or setting them up, taking them down, that kind of thing, if you want to come talk to me, maybe when we're mingling, so it would be nice to kind of get a little more involvement with everyone. So yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Okay, so we have a closing, well, I'm not going to say this. We have a song by Andy Checketts. I really almost, okay. This is really cool because this is an original composition that he has written. It's called Cloudless. So I'd like to have him come up to the stage.
Hey, this is my first time to one of these kind of events. I've really enjoyed it. I'm so glad I came. I'm lucky enough to get to play one of my songs today for you guys. I just said it's an original one. It's I would say it's pretty much just a song about love and being open and free to ask and learn anything you want and all that good stuff that kind of goes hand in hand with everything that's been said. So I'll get to it here. It's called Cloudless. Watching the clouds with